We saw a test match and a result for the ages at Twickenham yesterday. I was at the game, I didn't have a chance to do a video after it, so that's what I'm doing here. Welcome back to the channel. England against Australia, and what a win for the Wallabies. Put your comments down below, what did you make of it? From an Australian point of view and the encouragement this maybe gives us for where they are ahead of the Lions tour next year, and from an England point of view, played to, lost to this autumn. Another game which has been close that they've ended up coming on the wrong side of the result. Put your comments down below, like the video as well, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you do not miss a thing. I'm going to come on to England because there will naturally be a lot of thoughts and opinions and emotions and a bit of an inquest into where they are at the moment. I felt it was only right though to start this video with Australia, because that is the best win of the Joe Schmidt era by an absolute country mile. They had a couple of wins at home against Wales, who aren't great at the moment, and then they had the win against Argentina in the Rugby Championship, which actually I think has been forgotten about because they suffered a record defeat kind of the week after that. But that win actually was a pretty good one against Argentina, but that at Twickenham, massive. So it's their first win at Twickenham since 2015, only their second win against England in the last 9 years. And not just that, but I think the manner of the victory as well. What a shot in the arm that is going to be for Australian rugby, because it was attacking rugby. It's the second joint most points England have ever conceded at home. The most points, by the way, that England have scored at home and not won. But some of the attacking rugby and the skills from Australia were incredibly, incredibly high. Higher, I think, than we've seen from a Wallabies team for quite a while. I think I'm correct in saying that. And the way they won it late. Like that last try, having to go from 40 metres out to have the execution, the skill, the discipline to see Max Jorgensen head over in the corner was epic. And what a moment for that Australia team. They were absolutely delighted. Twickenham, for the most part, was stunned, apart from the Wallabies in attendance. But I just thought the manner of that victory for Australia was incredibly significant for them. And this could be a bit of a line in the sand. It's certainly the perfect way for them to start their spring tour. What a platform this gives them now, heading on into other matches. They do not come to Twickenham often and win, certainly not in the last decade or so. But they did that yesterday. There were so many individual performances as well. Now, Joseph Suaalii is going to take all the headlines, understandably so. It's his first ever senior game of rugby union. I know he's been playing rugby league, so there's a crossover there. He was obviously a brilliant schoolboy when he was playing union as a teenager. But your first ever senior game for your country, away from home somewhere that you've only won, what was it? Last time was in 2015. What a performance. He looked so at ease. He didn't look jittery. He looked so calm. He had clearly a lot of skill and a lot of quality. And I can't wait to see how he develops and what sort of player he could become for this Wallabies team. And I think he's really important for them as well. Like, even just gauging the reaction over here from his performance, I think people are going to be engaged in him as a character and as a player. And hopefully it can have a similar impact for rugby in Australia as well, from people who know him from league who start paying more attention. He is the sort of player that you would tune in, you would buy a ticket to watch. So he was awesome and will get a load of plaudits. And actually, I don't know if you've seen many better test debuts, just in terms of when you factor in the whole context of it and what I mentioned, his first ever game of professional senior rugby union. But also, we've got to mention Angus Bell. He was awesome in the loose. Rob Valentini, who has been the kind of shining light for this Australia team for the last few years when they haven't been very good, was excellent as well. I look at that Australia front row in particular, Tupu and Bell, plus then you've got Slipper and Alan Alatoa coming off the bench. They've got a bit of strength there. With Karevi and Will Skelton to come back in, you start looking at it and thinking, if this Australian team can stay fit, if they can have a fully fit squad to pick from, there might be something there. There could be a good team that Joe Schmidt can mould them into. I think it's very, very exciting. The caveat to all of this, and I'll move on to England now, is it's one game. It is just one game. They have to go and back it up. Show us you can do it consistently, but what a platform they've given themselves. All right, on to England. I mean, geez. What do you say about them at the moment? The first question I've got written down is, how do they keep losing these tight matches? Because it's not a one-off anymore. It's France in the Six Nations, it's the 3 test matches against New Zealand, and it's this test match against Australia. Now, all of those games have been different. Is there a common thread that runs through all of them? I'm not actually sure that there is. Maybe it's just as simple as their skill levels under pressure towards the end of games aren't good enough at the moment, compared with what we saw with Australia, where their skill levels were at a really, really high level. Perhaps they lose a bit of aggression, they lose discipline. That's what we saw last week. But that's what I mean, where there's different things in each of those games that have been the issue. I don't know if there is one common thread, but it is a major issue for England. And then the second question I've written down is, where does this leave their autumn? Because even if they beat South Africa next week, which is a big, big if, they've then got Japan. The best that England can now do is lost 2-1-2 from this autumn campaign, which I don't think is good enough. I think it will be viewed as a failure, regardless of what happens over the next couple of weeks. And you're looking at this England team, and performances have improved, but I think that has run out as an excuse for them not quite getting over the line, because they had improved. Defence was better, attack was better. It was a team that was getting there. And now you're looking at it and thinking, well, why aren't you getting there? And I think it causes some pretty awkward questions for this team, and they have to be able to find the answers to them. The one positive, maybe not the one positive, but I think the big positive yesterday for England was actually Marcus Smith. And I don't think the game will be remembered in this way because they lost. But had England won, I really believe that that would have gone down as a seminal moment in the international career of Marcus Smith. Everything England did, which was good from an attacking point of view, pretty much came through him. He was exceptional, and he was good last week against New Zealand. That is one thing where maybe this is now becoming Marcus Smith's team, which England fans will feel, plenty of them, that they've had to wait a long, long time for. I thought he was excellent yesterday, particularly in that attacking sense. And amongst all of it for England, and amongst all of the inquest and the disappointment and criticism of the coaches, which I know will come Steve Borthwick's way, criticism of the players, this team have played their best when they are down and out and when they're written off. The World Cup semi-final against South Africa, and actually I think more relevant to next week against the Springboks, is the game against Ireland in the Six Nations. Coming off the back of the defeat at Murrayfield, where they weren't playing well, and it was, how can this team possibly go up against this Ireland team and win? And they did. They played brilliantly. That is probably the only thing at the moment that I would look at with this England team and say, don't quite write them off. I think it's unlikely they beat the Springboks, but I do think it's possible because they have shown they will play their best when written off. Almost when the pressure's off them, when they're not expected to win. And maybe that is part of the issue here. When the pressure is on, they haven't been able to live up to the expectation. When they lead late in games, they haven't been able to see it out. I think the final thing I'll say for the concerns around England here is, at the end of their summer tour to New Zealand, there was, I think, a real sense of where this team was going. Yes, they had lost those games narrowly, but they were still building. I think after 2 games this autumn, it doesn't feel like they're building anymore. It feels like they've stagnated, and maybe they've gone backwards even a little bit. Because I think the coaching changes we saw in the summer are having an impact. Now, England are never going to admit that, but your head of S&C resigning unexpectedly, your defence coach resigning unexpectedly, but being made to still work his notice period from home, whilst another defence coach has been brought in who is still doing the job part-time whilst coaching the second tier in French rugby, that is going to have an impact. And I think it clearly is with what this England team are doing. They just don't look quite as joined up, I don't think, as maybe what we saw towards the end of the Six Nations and in the summer against the All Blacks. So where do they go from here? Well, where they go is the Springboks. and a match which needs no building up because there is bad blood between these two teams. And I think we'll still get a brilliant test match, by the way. And I still, as I've said already, would give England a chance. They're underdogs, but I would give them a chance. But certainly this autumn, I think will go down as a failure for England. And why do they keep losing those narrow games? Let me know. And for Australia, what a win. And has it moved the dial for you on how competitive you think the Wallabies can be for that series against the British and Irish Lions next year? There are green shoots in Australian rugby, which we have seen before. We have said this before. They haven't had too many results like we saw yesterday, though, to be able to back it up. Can Joe Schmidt keep working his magic there? Exciting time. What a result for Australia, inquest for England. Comment down below, let me know what you make of it. Hit a thumbs up on the video, make sure you like it, and subscribe to the channel. Go hit that subscribe button. Would really appreciate it if you do. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.